Mollie Tibbetts was born on May 8, 1998, in San Francisco, California, to Rob and Laura. When she was 7, her parents divorced, and she moved with her mother and 2 brothers, Scott and Jake, to Brooklyn, Iowa, a small farming town with about 1,500 residents. Despite the big change from California, Mollie quickly adjusted. She made close friends and became an active part of the community. Friends described her as kind, funny, and always bringing joy to those around her. Mollie did well both in school and sports, being an honor student and a dedicated cross-country runner. In the fall of 2017, she started studying psychology at the University of Iowa. Her freshman year went well, and she returned home for the summer of 2018 feeling optimistic and excited for the future. To make the most of her summer break, Mollie worked at a children's day camp at Grinnell Regional Medical Center in Grinnell, Iowa. Her co-workers admired her energy and natural ability to connect with kids, making her a favorite among both staff and campers. She loved playing, doing crafts, reading, and spending time on the playground with the children. It was exactly what she enjoyed. July 18, 2018, started like any other day for Mollie. She was cheerful, watching over the children and joking with her colleagues. That afternoon, it was her turn to close the camp, so she locked up and left at 5 p.m., being the last to leave. Her brother picked her up and dropped her off at her boyfriend Dalton Jack's house. Dalton had left for a construction job in Dubuque, Iowa, on July 17, and wasn't expected back for a few days, so Mollie stayed at his house to take care of his dogs. Once she arrived, she sent Dalton a Snapchat about her day and texted her mom, Laura, to let her know she might come by for dinner. Afterward, she got ready for her usual evening run and left around 7 p.m. Mollie didn't make it to her mom's house for dinner that night, which disappointed Laura. Since it was raining heavily, Laura assumed that might be the reason Mollie stayed home. The next morning, at 8 a.m. on July 19, 2018, Mollie's cousin Morgan sent her a Snapchat about the rain from the night before. Morgan and Mollie were very close and messaged each other daily. But that morning, Mollie didn't reply. By 9 a.m., the summer camp staff became concerned when Mollie, known for being dependable, didn't show up for work. They tried calling her, but she didn't answer. At 1 p.m., Morgan sent another message, but like before, it went unread. Since Mollie was always on her phone, this was unusual. Later, day camp supervisor Jill Scheck contacted Mollie's family, but no one had seen her. The family started calling each other, realizing no one had heard from Mollie, and became seriously worried. When I checked my phone and saw missed calls from my dad, brother, and Aunt Laura, I knew something was wrong. Some family members checked Dalton's house, hoping to find Mollie either resting or feeling unwell. However, the house was empty, increasing their worries. By 5:56 p.m., Mollie's family contacted the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office to report her missing. Deputy Sheriff Steve Keevy and Special Agent Trent Velita from Iowa's Division of Criminal Investigation took over the case right away. Their main focus was to piece together Mollie's last known movements. They reviewed her activities on the day she disappeared and found that her last message was a text to her mother about coming for dinner. Next, they created a timeline of Mollie's activities from 7 p.m. onwards to find out what might have happened. Since Mollie's last known location was her boyfriend's house, authorities started investigating that area. They found out that the property was owned by Dalton's older brother and his wife. The couple later cooperated in the investigation by giving the detectives a tour of the house. Inside, authorities found Mollie's wallet and some of her clothing. They searched for signs of a break-in but found the house in normal condition, with no evidence of disturbance. Investigators then concentrated on determining Mollie's running route and quickly made progress. They received a crucial lead from a hairdresser named Christina Stewart, who reported seeing Mollie around 8 p.m. on July 18. Christina was driving east of town on a road known as the Blacktop when she saw Mollie running. She was certain it was Mollie, as she had cut her hair before and knew her fairly well. She even described her attire that night in detail. With this information, the investigators now aimed to uncover if Mollie had encountered someone or been attacked while jogging. A significant challenge was the vast 8 to 10 foot high corn stalks along the road. If Mollie had been harmed and her body discarded there, the authorities faced a difficult task in searching the area. On July 20, 2018, hundreds of volunteers from Brooklyn rallied to assist the authorities in their search for Mollie. Over the following days, authorities and volunteers conducted a thorough search by land, air, and water, covering the countryside, road ditches, fields, and ponds. They also canvassed homes and distributed missing person posters throughout the town. Simultaneously, Mollie's family conducted their own investigation, reviewing her social media accounts and speaking with her friends. Despite these extensive efforts, Mollie remained nowhere to be found. Since Mollie's phone was missing, likely taken with her during her jog, investigators devised a plan to replicate it. After obtaining her password, they cloned her phone by purchasing a new iPhone and retrieving her data through iCloud. This allowed them to review Mollie's texts from the day she disappeared. However, the messages showed nothing suspicious enough that could advance the investigation. Investigators then contacted Dalton, who appeared calm and deeply concerned but showed no signs of panic. Dalton and Mollie had known each other since 6th grade and had been dating for 3 years. Her family approved of him, and he was known to treat Mollie well. After looking into Dalton, authorities verified that he was staying in a hotel about 2 hours from home on the night Mollie went missing. Records also showed he visited Walmart to buy groceries around the time Mollie began her jog. He was subsequently cleared as a person of interest. On July 23, 2018, after several days of unfruitful searching, the FBI was called in to help. Supervisor Mollie Amon and her team promptly worked on recovering data from Mollie's Fitbit smartwatch, which they believed she wore during her run. Fitbit data can store completed running routes. But while the FBI recovered Mollie's past routes, there was no record of her activity on the night of July 18. Despite this, investigators made the most of the available information by searching along her previous routes and checking for registered offenders who lived nearby. One particular individual stood out, Wayne Cheney. Cheney was a local pig farmer who lived just outside of Brooklyn. He also happened to have an extensive history of stalking and harassment. However, despite Cheney's unsettling background and behavior, authorities found no direct connection between him and Mollie. Consequently, they decided to move on from him. The FBI then focused on Mollie's cell phone data. Although local authorities had already previously examined it, the FBI conducted a more thorough analysis, uncovering additional details that had not been identified before. They found out that between 8:15 and 8:28 p.m., Mollie's phone was moving east at a pace consistent with jogging. This was followed by a 4-minute stop. At 8:32 p.m., the phone's data showed Mollie traveling south at around 60 miles per hour, indicating that she had likely entered a vehicle at this point. Well, we know she can't run that fast, so we knew it had to be in a vehicle. By now, investigators had all but confirmed that Mollie's run ended around 8:28 p.m., and she likely got into a car shortly afterward, being driven out of town. Her phone signal later dropped at 8:53 p.m., approximately 15 miles south of Brooklyn, Iowa. The focus of the search efforts then shifted to the area where Mollie's phone last pinged. Meanwhile, rumors started circulating within the community that Mollie might have been kidnapped and forced into human trafficking, a distressing prospect for her family. As days passed, national news outlets began covering her case, leading to a flood of tips for investigators. This morning, there is new information coming to light in the desperate search for a University of Iowa student missing now for more than 2 weeks. Some reports claim to have seen Mollie at a rest stop in Missouri or a taco restaurant in Colorado, but none proved useful. Despite the lack of progress, Mollie's parents remained hopeful. In a press conference in early August 2018, they offered a reward for any information that could help find their daughter. As of 10 o'clock that morning, the reward for information leading to Mollie's safe return had reached $172,000, with promises of immediate payment if she was found. Due to contributions from concerned individuals, this amount later grew to over $400,000, demonstrating the widespread concern for her well-being. A significant breakthrough came on August 15, 2018, when investigators reviewed security footage from a residence home in Brooklyn. After hours of examination, they spotted Mollie jogging in the footage around 7:48 p.m. on July 18. She could be seen briefly on Boundary Street, her ponytail bouncing as she passed by a house. This discovery led investigators to focus on the vehicles seen in the area around that time, particularly a black Chevy Malibu, likely from 2008 to 2012, which appeared just seconds after Mollie passed the camera. The vehicle, with its custom mirrors and chrome details, stood out and became a key focus for tracking. Minutes later, at 7:56 p.m., Christina Stewart's white minivan was also captured on the same camera, followed by the Malibu appearing again at 8:02 p.m. and 8:10 p.m. Authorities quickly shifted their efforts to identifying the driver of the distinctive Malibu, believing this could be their best lead. The very next day, on August 16, 2018, around 6 p.m., Deputy Sheriff Steve Keevy was driving home when he spotted the exact black Malibu they had been searching for on Highway 63. Discreetly following the vehicle, Keevy traced it to the driver's residence. Upon approaching, he discovered that the driver, Christian Bahina Rivera, did not speak English, but an elderly man in the yard volunteered to translate. Rivera confirmed he worked at a local dairy farm and had seen the posters about Mollie but claimed to know little else. He remained calm and cooperative, allowing Keevy to take photographs of him and the car, which later matched the footage from the surveillance cameras. Further investigation revealed that Rivera, a 24-year-old Mexican national, had entered the U.S. illegally in 2011 at the age of 17. Employed at Yarrabee Farms, he used false identification under the name John Budd to pass employment verification systems. His co-workers described him as quiet, hardworking, and unassuming. On August 20, 2018, Rivera was brought in for questioning and agreed to let authorities search his car. Investigators, needing someone fluent in Spanish to communicate with Rivera, enlisted Officer Pamela Romero from the Iowa City Police Department. Though inexperienced in high-profile cases like Mollie's, Officer Romero's light approach helped build trust with Rivera. He opened up about his personal life, mentioning his 3-year-old daughter and his awareness of Mollie's case. When Officer Romero presented the footage of Rivera's car passing Mollie on the night of her disappearance, Rivera admitted it was his vehicle. At first, he claimed to have seen her jogging and thought nothing of it, as he was in the area to visit a family member. However, after persistent questioning, Rivera's story began to shift. He eventually confessed that he found Mollie attractive and decided to follow her. Startled by his advances, Mollie had threatened to call the police if he didn't leave her alone. Mollie told Rivera to leave her alone, threatening to call the police if he didn't. After that, she continued running. Rivera claimed that he blacked out, unable to recall the exact details of what followed. However, when he regained awareness, he found himself violently attacking her. Afterward, Rivera placed Mollie in the trunk of his car and drove away, eventually ending up in a cornfield in rural Poweshiek County. He only realized the gravity of what he'd done when he looked down and saw one of Mollie's earbuds in his lap. Opening the trunk, he discovered Mollie's body, bleeding from her head. He decided to hide her body in the cornfield. On August 21, 2018, Rivera led officers to the location where he had concealed Mollie's body, bringing a heartbreaking end to the month-long search. The following day, August 22, Rivera was charged with first-degree murder, and his bond was set at $5 million due to flight risk concerns. Mollie's death devastated her family and the Brooklyn community. Her father, Rob Tibbetts, shared the gut-wrenching moment of realization that he would never be able to hug his daughter again. An autopsy confirmed Mollie had died from multiple sharp force injuries, indicating she was stabbed to death. While the results were inconclusive regarding whether Rivera had assaulted her before the fatal attack, the trial still proceeded. Legal complications, including Rivera recanting his confession and delays caused by the pandemic, pushed the trial start to May 17, 2021. Rivera's defense team managed to exclude his 6-hour interview and confession due to errors in how Officer Romero had read him his rights, which added complexity to the prosecution's case. Despite these setbacks, the prosecution presented compelling evidence, including security footage of Rivera's car near the scene, Mollie's blood found in his car trunk, and Rivera leading investigators to her body. After a brief deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict on May 28, 2021, finding Christian Bahena Rivera guilty of first-degree murder. On August 30, 2021, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Although the sentencing offered some comfort, Mollie's family understood it would never bring her back. On August 26, 2018, more than 1,200 people came together at Brooklyn Guernsey Malcolm High School, Mollie's alma mater, for her memorial service. Her father gave a heartfelt speech, providing hope and support to the grieving community. The #MilesForMollie movement brought together runners nationwide, who dedicated their runs to Mollie and raised awareness about the safety of female runners. On September 30, 2018, more than 500 people came together in Brooklyn, Iowa, for a 5-mile run along the route Mollie took the night she was murdered. Mollie's cousin, Morgan, led the event while carrying an American flag that had the names of participants from the #MilesForMollie movement. At the University of Iowa, a memorial fund was created in Mollie's honor to support child and adolescent psychiatry, raising over $165,000. Each year, teal ribbons, Mollie's favorite color, are displayed in Brooklyn to honor her vibrant spirit and lasting legacy. Even though Mollie Tibbetts' life ended too soon, her influence remained strong. Her family and community choose to remember her for her kindness, compassion, and the joy she shared with others, rather than how she died.